Different breed when I walk in the streets. Watch your mouth when you talking to me, yeah. Phony niggas make it harder to lead. They know I'm real, but it's hard to believe, yeah. You a lot different than I thought you was. For some reason it be hate, that's the normal plug. Cause I'm out here shining like I'm selling drugs. When they meet the spirit and brotherhood, then they fall in love. Talking Jeremiah, that's a real one there. If you talking ill, it leave them shocked like electric chair. I guess being real is so rare, I'm a pioneer. A lot of these niggas half real, hemisphere. Judge a tree by the fruity bear. You tell me how it feels in the atmosphere. I'ma keep climbing these peaks like a mountaineer. 400 feet home run, I'm out of here. Because I'm tired of the BS. Need a navigation system, GPS. Niggas always got extra words like PS. But I ain't playing none of these games like PS. I'm a leader, but I ain't asking you to follow me. Cause in the midst of the congregations where the problems be. You wanna find a little hate, go to a solemn feast. The next day, 20 videos talking bad about me. I'm floating like a butterfly, but they stinging like their name is Ali. It ain't really bad until they know you're something. Looking at you mean like you own something. Walk across the room and I ask, you want a soda, son? Damn, man. Why you so mad, brother? Cheer up, man. Y'all wish y'all coming back soon, brother. For real. Different breed when I walk in the streets. Watch your mouth when you talking to me, yeah. Phony niggas make it harder to lead. They know I'm real, but it's hard to believe, yeah. For some strange reason, dudes feel I'm a threat. I'm something like LeBron, I just want my respect. But the shine is so bright, dudes feeling neglect. You better go to the closet and get your spirit in check. Don't let the Lord snatch your collar, might be snapping your neck. And I'll be speaking at your wake, call it cause and effect. Remove the hate for your brother, he might be calling you next. I hope these words from my heart might be causing reflect. Cause in your heart is what's fueling where the problems be. You're showing pride and don't repent, it really bothers me. Cause in your heart is supposed to be where the Father be. Prepare for war, but your heart is what's battling. I can feel it in the air, the hate from some people. Cause I'm flashy like Vegas, but not Benny or Bugsy Siegel. I live in Oklahoma like Machine Gun Kelly. Eating M&M's for respect like Machine Gun Kelly. You wanna give orders but can't take orders. Waiting for the great wall of Trump cause we got false borders. Set parameters so I never take a loss. Till then, never cross the gun line, boss. Cause I'm the pappy, it makes me happy to talk down on the brother, to keep you laughing. Even though I'm being facetious, these niggas vicious. You can't stop spreading rumors, it seems delicious. Different breed when I walk in the streets. Watch your mouth when you talking to me, yeah. Phony niggas make it harder to lead. They know I'm real, but it's hard to believe, yeah. Different breed when I walk in the streets. Watch your mouth when you talking to me, yeah. Phony niggas make it harder to lead. They know I'm real, but it's hard to believe, yeah.
So what to do, family? What to do? It's your brother Priest Dan in the building. Welcome to another edition of Maccabeestv. Listen, family, I'm gonna give y'all some time. I already see I got my guest in the back chat already. Family, listen to what I'm telling y'all. This is a very important show. So what I need you brothers and sisters to do, I'm gonna give you another minute or two. I'm gonna play another drop. I need another minute or two. I need you brothers and sisters to share this video, like the video, and share the video. This is a very, 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 very important conversation. It's uncomfortable, but it's important. You may not think so today, but you're going to come back looking and say, you know what? What they were talking about this afternoon was very important. So I need you brothers and sisters to go ahead and share this video. Like the video, put it on your Instagram, put it on your Facebook, whatever. I'm going to give you brothers and sisters a couple more minutes real quick to share this video. Tell people that we live. Please, this is a very, very important conversation. I think 99% of you Israelites need to hear what we're talking about today. So with that being said, I'm going to give you brothers and sisters another minute or two. And my man Doggy Diamond is going to take it away. Let's go, Doggy.
Maccabeestv, man, make sure you tune in. Salute this brother right here. You know, support him any way you can. Listen, when it comes to this, it's not all about money. So a lot of times you see me ask for donations. The biggest thing you can do to support this brother is like the video and share it. Just share it. If you like what I'm saying right here, go on your Facebook, go on your Twitter, and say, yo, check out what Doggy Diamond was saying. I like what he said at the 3-minute mark. I like what he said at such and such. I could apply that. Everything that I say, you might not agree with. It might not apply to your life. But if I said anything today, right now, in this footage, that you can agree with, because we're always looking to disagree. If I said something that you could agree with and you think could be helpful to you and yours, share this video. That's what it's all about. So I'm Doggy Diamonds. We on Maccabeestv. Make sure you subscribe, you know, and click the bell also. The bell is very important because the bell is what gives you the notifications that a new video is uploaded. So sometimes you subscribe and there might be 10 videos that went up and you're like, yo, I didn't know he put up 10 videos. You got to put on the notification. So that's what it is. Thank y'all for having me.
Real talk from Doggy Diamonds. We appreciate you, King. And we'll see you soon again, man. Peace.
Doggy Diamonds. Peace.
Now listen, if y'all watch Vlad TV and you not subscribed to Doggy Diamonds, shame on you. That's my brother. Make sure y'all subscribe to Doggy Diamonds TV. That brother shows love. He got love for Maccabeestv. He got love for Priest Danyaahla, Lions of Israel. Make sure AOC, make sure y'all subscribe to my man Doggy Diamonds channel real quick. All right, brothers and sisters, we're here. Yo, AbadYahu, I see you in the background. Just give me a couple of minutes. I told you I'm gonna bring you on shortly, but I gotta warm it up for the people. I have to let the people know what's going on. Real quick, brothers and sisters, welcome to another edition of Maccabeestv. As I said, as you guys come into my house, you guys already know the rules. You guys already know the etiquette. Please hit the like button if you appreciate the information that I'm bringing out. If you don't appreciate the information and you can't stand Priest Danyaahla, then hit the dislike button. That's okay. I'm not a hater because either way, the algorithm is triggered and more people can come in and join this conversation. This is a very, 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 very important conversation that we're about to have right now. Okay? So I need you brothers to be locked in, you sisters to be locked in as well. Peace and blessings to everybody that's watching this video on Facebook as well. If you want to participate in the conversation, in the chat, you need to come over to Maccabeestv because I'm not going to see your comments on the Facebook chat, but shout out to everybody that's on Facebook that's watching. Brothers and sisters, this is a very important conversation that we're about to have, okay? So, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get the conversation started. I'm going to bring my brother AbadYahu in. AbadYahu, give your brother Priest Dan about another 5 to 7 minutes. I'm going to bring you in, but I got to set the conversation up to know what, to let the people know why we're having this conversation today. Okay? So, let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, sorry, brothers and sisters, real quick. Right here. Salakia. Okay, sorry, brothers and sisters. Just go ahead. Real quick. All right, brothers and sisters, right here. Salakia. Okay, I'm bugging. Sorry about that, family. Okay, brothers and sisters. Let me just make sure I'm sharing my screen because this is super important. I want to make sure I'm not making any mistakes you guys can see. Okay. I need for you brothers and sisters to see this. This is extremely important. And brothers and sisters, this is an extremely, I'm going to take myself out the shot because I need you to concentrate. I don't even want y'all looking at me. This is an extremely important conversation. For you brothers and sisters that are subscribed to Maccabeestv that are up at 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning, you guys know every morning I do a drive-in show called Road Rage. And for some reason, this particular Monday, this last Monday that just passed recently, on my Road Rage show, while I was driving in and I'll be having a conversation with the family, I talked about this very issue before I knew about this brother. Many of you brothers and sisters don't know that this particular brother, has been laboring in the truth for many years. And unfortunately, the Most High took this brother's spirit. And so this is part of the conversation that we're going to have. So I want you brothers and sisters to, we want to look on the right? And this was posted December 19th. Today's December 23rd. So this was posted earlier this week. It says, Shalom family, I just got some sad news this morning that one of our brothers, Danyaahla, was shot and killed yesterday in LA while delivering for Postmates. So this brother died on the job. He was doing his job and he died on the job. Okay, this is an Israelite. He was a camp leader. So this brother was the leader of a camp for the Lamps of Israel. Now, brothers and sisters, y'all know I was in LA last, I think it was June. I was even May or June. I believe it was June, last June. And I met a lot of brothers and sisters. I don't know if I met this brother or not because I met so many brothers and sisters, that I was meeting for the first time. So I don't know if I had the pleasure of meeting this brother or not. I can't remember. The face doesn't seem familiar, but I met so many people for the first time in LA last year. I may have very well met this brother if he was at that gift concert. I don't know. All right. But here's what we do know, according to this post. He was a camp leader for a camp called the Lamps of Israel, which is in Los Angeles, right? Some of you know him from the camp ministry in California at Venice Beach. It's very sad. Prayers up Israel, right? So I've been trying to figure out what's going on. So people have been saying that he was shot and killed on the job. Now, I saw a post. I don't know. So I'm asking for those of y'all that have the information that can give us the proper information that this brother was shot and killed by a stray bullet. That's what I'm hearing. I don't know, family. I don't know. If anybody has information concerning the GoFundMe, I understand that there's a GoFundMe for this brother. I've been asking around on Facebook all day, where is the GoFundMe? And everybody's saying they don't know, but I know there's a GoFundMe for this brother. He's an elder. He's over his camp. There's a GoFundMe for this brother. If anybody can please give me the information for the GoFundMe, I will post it in my community tab on YouTube, and I will also post it on my Facebook tab as well. Brothers and sisters, you know your brother priest Danyaahla don't give a damn about camp labels. There's too many camps that give a damn about camp labels, which is part of the problem in Israel, but I'm not here to talk about that today. I don't. He was a leader in Israel. It means that he was a spiritual leader to them. He was helpful to them, and the Most High took his spirit. And we as Israelites, we're our brother's keeper, man. So please, if anybody has the information, you can put it in the chat right now about the GoFundMe. Let's support the GoFundMe for this brother. And if somebody comes and you're watching this video after this live and you go on the regular comment board, please post the link for the brother's GoFundMe so that Israelites can support. As soon as I get a hold of it, as soon as I find out about it, I'm going to post the GoFundMe as well on my Facebook or my community tab here on YouTube, wherever I can, because it's extremely important that we give our brother, who is also a leader of a camp, an honorable burial as an Israelite, who many people I'm seeing post all across social media that his brother was very instrumental in a lot of brothers awakening and learning. So let us support our brother. It's a very sad day. Okay. Now, my understanding, I'm hearing conflicting stories, so I don't really want to speak more on it than that. I've been asking people that I thought knew more than me, but they saying they don't know either. I don't know if it was a stray bullet. There's a whole bunch of rumors around how this brother died, but he died on the job. And he's an Israelite leader over a camp. So let's try and help these brothers to the best of our ability. Let me stop sharing my screen. AbadYahu, I got you coming in soon. Just stay with me, brother, because this is all going to lead up to you. Okay? All right. So now, brothers and sisters, you understand more than ever why I'm telling y'all this is a serious conversation. This is a serious, 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 serious conversation. For those of y'all that have been watching my Road Rage series, family, first of all, get my likes up, man. Let's go. The likes is going to bring more people in here. A lot more people need to hear what I'm about to say. Because I'm going to tell you, ain't no other Israelite leader saying what I'm saying, period. Everybody's trying to outdo, outperform, be better than everybody else. But when it comes to the practical stuff of every day helping our people with situations like this, nobody's talking about the stuff. So hit the like button. Let's go. Let's get the likes up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get the likes up. Not for me. Not because you like me. Don't hit the like because you like me. I don't give a damn about me. This is a serious conversation. Let's trigger this algorithm. A lot of people need to hear what I'm saying today. Let's go. All right. Now, on my Road Rage series that I did, and I'm going to be real quick. I'm going to be real brief. I ain't going to be long. On my Road Rage series, I went through a situation that happened in my camp. Okay. A lot of y'all brothers and sisters know who Priest Danyaahla was. Danyaahla was a prominent Israelite in the 90s and the early 2000s. He helped found the House of Israel, which is a box camp, and he helped found Lions of Israel, which is my camp. All right. The brother was very instrumental. When that brother passed away, he passed away with no life insurance, no health insurance, no power of attorney, no nothing. And your brother, Priest Danyaahla, spent a month and a half fighting his family who hated the Israelites just to give him an honorable burial. And brothers and sisters, this is going on way too often in the Israelite community, and all these leaders that puff themselves up as being the big leader of Israel is not talking about this at all. Every time you turn around, it's a GoFundMe or 2 GoFundMes or 5 for Hebrew Israelites that's dying that have not taken care of business while you were alive. And you're leaving the expense of burying you to your Israelite brothers and sisters with a GoFundMe. And we have no power of attorney, so now we have to fight your family to make sure that you get an Israelite burial and not a burial under Caesar Borgias in the Catholic Church. This is happening way too often because leadership in Israel would rather argue, bicker, fight, tell you they're better than everybody else. My camp is better than everybody else. You should join us. Look at our garments. Look at the way we talk. All this bullshit. And every time I turn around, Israelites are dying and they're getting buried by their family against their customs with Caesar Borgia hanging on the wall by a goddamn Catholic priest because nobody's standing up and telling y'all some of these uncomfortable things that need to be said. And that's what I'm here for. That's what I do. And so, I ain't going to keep my guests on too long because we're almost at 6 o'clock. I did a series every Monday morning at 4 a.m. I go live on my channel, on this channel, as I'm driving into work for an hour and a half, and I move as the Spirit moves me. And one of the conversations I had, and I went really in depth, is all the problems that we had to bury and give Danyaahla an honorable Israelite burial. Here is a man that was responsible for waking up thousands of brothers and sisters across Israel. And because, with all the great works that he did, because his paperwork, his power of attorney was not what it was supposed to be, his finances was not what it was supposed to be, we had to go around Israel with the damn cup, the tin cup, shaking and asking brothers to help us financially to bury this man that woke up thousands of people. And we also had to fight the family to make sure he did not end up in New York City's Potter's Field, which is the unmarked graves for people who somebody doesn't care about because his family didn't give a shit about him and didn't want to release the body to me. And we had to fight them. These things are not supposed to be happening in the Israelite community. And so I'm bringing my guest on to have a very uncomfortable but necessary conversation about these things. And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna be really frank. I'll be really frank, right? because sometimes there's so much. I want everybody to listen to what I'm saying. I'm a real brother, right? You see how all the camps are fighting against each other? When Beloya passed away, you had some camps who you wouldn't think that came to me and offered their assistance that did. The House of David helped bury Beloya because it was only right he got an honorable burial. So brothers put their differences aside and they came to me. GMS offered to help me bury Beloya. They put their differences aside and they came to me. IUIC offered to bury Beloya, help me bury Beloya. They put their differences aside and they came to me because it was bigger than that. Zabak and his camp, even though Beloya left the house of Israel, came to me and offered their assistance. The rest of Israel, you niggas are all about yourself, the majority of you. But it's all good. Anyway, without further, listen, let's get the lights up. I'm about to bring my guest in. Let's get the lights up, family, a little bit more. Without further ado, family, let's go ahead and let's bring my guest in. Without further ado, I want to bring in my brother, AbadYahu.
Shalom, brother. Shalom.
And he is from the Holy Saints and Apostles camp. And when I did my video on Monday, the brother Mashar from Holy Saints and Apostles said, Dan, I got a brother in my camp that does life insurance. I really think you need to get him on your show to talk to Israel. Brothers and sisters, just open your ears and listen to what the brother has to say. This is a very important conversation. You brothers and sisters don't know the gravity of what it is that every time one of us as an Israelite passes away, unless you're a part of a really, 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 really big camp, if you're part of a small camp, we have these GoFundMes going around to bury people, right? And it's cool. We're our brother's keeper. We don't mind helping. But if you just would do the minimum and make sure that these small things are taken care of, you take that burden off the nation. Because a lot of us in this day and time don't have it like that. Without further ado, brother AbadYahu, can you please introduce yourself, introduce your camp, and just say a few words about yourself and what it is you do. So go ahead, brother.
Shalom. Thank you, Priest Danyaahla, for asking me to be on. I'm
all right. Something happened, and brother AbadYahu. Okay, there he is. He's back in. Okay, all places.
I pressed a button on my keyboard. So
you all set. Go ahead, brother.
But no, I was just saying I'm AbadYahu. Some of you all who watch our videos may know me as Captain AbadYahu. I have an insurance agency here in Nashville, and I service the states of Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, soon to be Kentucky, Texas, and New Jersey, I believe. But life insurance for me was, just long story short, life insurance was not something I was actually interested in. I was taking care of my grandmother, and that kind of motivated me, because it was, whenever you take care of somebody who's sick, like Priest Danyaahla was just mentioning, there's a lot of things you don't actually know that you need to have. Luckily, we had those things, but just going through it for the first time kind of opened my eyes. And there's a huge gap of information as it pertains to insurance and how insurance can work for us as a people, as a nation. And so that kind of motivated me to come into this industry. And, for me, it's really a mission to educate our people on what we don't know and what we need to know in order to make sure that we're able to, like Priest Danyaahla said, do the bare necessities of burying our loved ones and people that we care about with honor and dignity.
Brother AbadYahu, use your grandmother's situation as an example, your first time dealing with it. What are some of the pitfalls that you ran into of somebody that didn't have insurance? Like, what are some of the things that you didn't know that you found out at that time that maybe some of our brothers and sisters would need to know that they may run into if either they themselves pass away, what their relatives will run into, or whatever? Like, let them know what it is that they don't know.
So one of the main things that's going to happen before we even talk about insurance is there's really two very key important documents that every individual needs to have. Number one, you're going to need a power of attorney. You're going to want to make sure that power of attorney is a durable power of attorney, and that power of attorney pretty much gives you access or governance rather over all things non-health related, bank accounts, um, car accounts, home accounts, um, signing any documents, going to the bank, and you want to make sure that it is the right type of power of attorney. When I say durable, because some institutions will reject it on technicality. So you want to make sure it's notarized. You want to make sure you have that document. The second document you want to make sure you have is what we call a healthcare power of attorney. Healthcare power of attorney is pretty much gives one of the things, and I'm gonna kind of back up a little bit. One of the things that a lot of people don't know is that when you go to a hospital, especially here in the States, when you go to a hospital, you don't have the right as a husband or a family member to make decisions pertaining to your loved one. It is a privilege that's often adhered to by healthcare administrators, but it's not necessarily a right. And so one of the things that they'll ask you is, do you have a healthcare power of attorney? That gives whomever that person is the ability to resuscitate you, the ability to keep you on a ventilator, the ability to make um, life-altering decisions on your behalf. And in some cases, most people will write that out. One of the pitfalls is when you don't have that information, when you don't have those documents, not being able to, for example, deny. In my grandmother's situation, my grandmother did not want to be resuscitated. So while it was a very painful situation to let her go, that's what she wanted. She made it clear that she wanted not to be resuscitated. And so I had to adhere to that. But, they had already started by the time they asked me. But it's a painful process. I don't know how many of you all have ever actually seen somebody go through chest compressions, but it is a very startling exchange, a visual exchange there. One of the other things that you'll run into is the bear things. I never forget. We were going to get medicine one time for my grandmother, and because the bank account situation, they hadn't fully added me onto the bank account. The lady at the bank literally told me my wife had gone to Walmart to get the prescription, and the lady at the bank literally said, my wife had my grandmother's card. Now my grandmother had dementia, so let me add that in. The lady literally said, tell your wife to come back home with the card and then have your grandmother read the number to me, and then I'll release the money. Now, we had a power of attorney, but I'm just using that as an example that they don't always honor it. We know that our adversaries, our earthly adversaries, Esau and other nations, will make it as difficult as they can for us to do anything. And even as it pertains to planning funerals, making sure that the life insurance company actually releases the money. I think one of the biggest reasons why our people think that life insurance to a degree is a scam or a jip is because, number one, you probably don't have the right type of life insurance. That's number one. Number two, you probably don't fully understand your policy. There's the age-old parable: you want to hide something from a nigger, you put it in a book. And so a lot of us, we get these things and we don't read them, and then long story short, we run into issues. So those are just a few examples of some of the things that we had to deal with. Even having that documentation, just some of the things we had to deal with.
Since we are on the subject of power of attorney, before we get over to the life insurance thing, for somebody like, let's just say somebody that's on limited resources and finances, right? Would you recommend something like LegalZoom as a place that they can go up and draw up power of attorney? Like, let's just use you and I for a second. If I wanted to give you power of attorney, and I'm working with limited finances, would you recommend I go to a place like LegalZoom? And I guess the B portion of the question would be, if you say yes, are there certain things that should be written into this power of attorney to make sure that it's binding, that they can't go around it?
Well, I'm going to answer that question twofold. Number one, there's nothing wrong with going to a place like LegalZoom, but I have to kind of precaution you on some of the challenges that you will face. The purpose of a will, in most states, a will cannot be challenged Well, and when I say can't be challenged, what I mean is successfully. To successfully challenge a will means you have to prove that the person was not mentally capable of making whatever was written in the will at the time that they made it. That's the benefit of going to a lawyer's office. Is the benefit you have is that that lawyer, when they're signing, when whomever your loved one is or signing or yourself, they have, in a sense, witness power that you were in your right mind when you made that decision. Now, not saying there's anything wrong with LegalZoom, but that's one of the pitfalls. If I were to do a LegalZoom will, I would write very specific language, meaning, and I would really write, much like my grandmother did with me, a blanket language, which means that everything I own and possess, I leave to this individual solely. And, you know, I think that, of course, if you have children, if you have other children, things like that, that becomes a little difficult. But you want to specify what each individual is going to get in that type of situation. If you don't, because, you know, if you have to, they call it contesting the will. If you have to contest the will, LegalZoom's not going to be in the room with you when you're sitting down with whomever else has attorneys contesting that will. So not that LegalZoom's a bad idea, but I would definitely say search for a lawyer who is, I would search for a lawyer who would really help. You know, to be honest with you, we were able to do the will that we have for about 100, which is not necessarily bad. I've heard some very atrocious prices, like $500-$600. If anybody quotes you, if your lawyer quotes you $500-$600, I'll be honest, they're being greedy. It don't cost that much. It don't cost that much at all. So, but I mean, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with LegalZoom. I would precaution against it if you can find a lawyer. If you can't find a lawyer, then LegalZoom may be an option for you. Yes.
AbadYahu, one of the issues that have been coming up in Israel, right, is that you know, we have a lot of what I call family. Y'all know I love y'all, right? We have what we call individualites. They're not a part of a congregation. They're the only person in Israel in their family. And so they pass away. And because they have no paperwork whatsoever, a lot of these people are being buried as Christians, as Catholics and everything when they live their life as an Israelite because there's no paperwork in place. Now, I've heard that there are different types of paperwork that you can draw up where, for instance, you can give your congregation power to bury you, but your family can have power of attorney over your finances, so forth and so on. Real quick, if you know anything about that, speak on that, because I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges we faced, as I myself, with the brother Bun Lawyer, faced that challenge. His body sat in the morgue for a month and a half, only because I had to make a choice between having him buried in an unmarked grave in Potter's Field, or as my brother, I'll let him sit in the morgue until his family finally relents and gives me the body, so at least he can have an honorable burial. And that's all because, you know, I didn't have the power to bury him according to my customs unless I went through them. So are you aware of anything that's out there that we should ask for, or individuals could set up that's watching right now, so that if they're part of a congregation, they can give that congregation or an individual the power to bury them according to their customs, and maybe the family can have the power of attorney over finances? If you could speak on that real quick.
Yes, and I'm actually the situation with my grandmother was rather unique because my grandmother had outlined everything, and I keep using her as an example because as I went through this process, there was literally nothing that wasn't pretty much spelled out. When my grandmother came to live with me, prior to coming to live with us, she had been a Jehovah's Witness all her life. So everything she planned out was in that order. Now, however, when she came to live with us, she, you know, there's an argument of whether or not she actually converted because she had dementia. So I don't necessarily know how much she actually believed, but she kept the commandments while she was here. And I had to make a very, very difficult choice in honoring her wishes or overriding her wishes because I had that authority to do so. What I would suggest is, if you are planning, put it in writing, put it in your will that you desire, especially if you're an Israelite, that you desire that your congregation would take care of your burial. And you can stipulate that they have that authority in the will, that whomever the controller of your estate is, that the congregation will bury you, but the family will deal with the business side of your estate. And that's where having a lawyer comes into play, because a lawyer can advise you on how you want to word that. And if you want to, for example, get a specific person at the assembly or at your congregation to deal with it. For example, my grandmother, now she was smart. What she did was she not only gave me instructions, not only put her instructions in writing in her will, but she also gave the funeral home instructions. So the funeral home also knew what to do, what kind of casket, all of those things were already done. So I didn't have to go through the struggle of trying to figure those things out, and even down to who she wanted to speak. And, obviously people that passed on, so we had to find some replacements. But I would definitely say that it is a possibility for you to get your congregation to bury you if the rest of your family isn't in the truth. The most important thing is, if you're going to do that, I would have it in writing multiple ways. So I would have it in a will. I would have it in my power of attorney, meaning that in your powers that you vest to your power of attorney, you can write, for example, there are what we call full governorship power of attorneys, which pretty much give a person the right, if they wanted to sell your home tomorrow, they have that right as a power of attorney. Or if you wanted them to wait until you die, they have to wait until you die. So there's multiple things. For example, my mother in her will has it to where I cannot. My stepfather has to live in the house until he passes away. I can't sell the house until he passes away. So there's multiple things that you can do in your will, in your power of attorney, to ensure that you have respect as it pertains to your beliefs.
Excellent. Awesome information, family. Let's continue to get these likes up, family. All praises to the Most High. The brother's giving us very, very invaluable information. And these are conversations that we in the Israelite community don't have, but we need to have a lot more of these because they're very serious. So brother AbadYahu, for that information. That was powerful. Let's move on to this issue of life insurance, right? So as you heard that I mentioned, and I'm sure you've seen it yourself if you're on social media, we as Israelites, we see a lot of GoFundMes to bury people because a lot of Israelites don't set up life insurance policies for themselves. For I'm sure a number of reasons. Maybe they think they can't afford it. Maybe think, for whatever the reason is, they don't think about it. They think they're gonna live forever. Who the hell knows, right? But we see these things, and it's a very, very important conversation to have because we find ourselves winding up having to bury a lot of Israelites because they just don't think about these things ahead of time. As I just showed you, you have an Israelite leader that passed away, and there's a GoFundMe for him. So if you could, let's start off with the importance of having a life insurance plan. Maybe you can give an example of some things that you may have seen, and then from there you can segue into the affordability of it, because I'm sure that that's probably a concern a lot of people have.
Well, I would first say, when we talk about life insurance, number one, GoFundMe is not life insurance. What GoFundMe is it is a prayer that people who care about you, or people you think care about you, will take care of you once you pass away. Let's be honest, Israel, I don't want to put my family's future and my family's security in the hands of unsure people. And what I mean by that is, and that's not necessarily to castigate a lack of respect or a lack of appreciation for people in our lives, but it's just the truth. The reality is people can be flaky and things happen over time. So long story short, the reason why GoFundMes exist is because a lot of our people don't think they need life insurance until they need life insurance. And that's a very dangerous road to walk down. So what a lot of people do is, a lot of people believe, hey, I have insurance through my job. Brothers and sisters, I'll be very honest. Unless you plan on working there all your life, don't bank on that. I've never met a person, I've never had a client who says, I'm going to work for this job for the rest of my life and they're going to take care of my insurance. No. The reality is even when you quit, that insurance is going to triple in premium because the job or your employer is no longer paying the large majority of that coverage. So life insurance is pretty much the question that I ask people is, how much do you care for the people that you're leaving behind? And that varies. Some people care enough to pay off the house. Some people just care enough, which is unfortunately in our community, 90% of insurance policies that are in the Israelite community by and large is final expense insurance, which is real small policies under 50,000, on average under 10,000. Most people, the average funeral now is about $10,000 to $15,000, on a high end about 30. But the problem with that is what about your home? What about your bills? Because whenever you pass away, your debtors are going to come to collect. And so you want to make sure that you leave behind enough. The scripture tells us that a wise man leaveth an inheritance behind for, and I'm paraphrasing, for those who he loves, and so for his children. So it's important that when you think about life insurance, you're insuring your family's future because of your life. That's the way you have to think about it. If you think about it as, I'm paying a bill for some ungrateful Negroes, those are the same Negroes that's going to have to put you in the ground. Those are the same people that, are, if you're young, and that's kind of a, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But when if you're young, you can't have the thought process, I don't need it. Another reason why we see a lot of GoFundMes is because people are dying younger. A lot of people 30, 40, 20s, the brother, and let me kind of segue into that. The brother that you mentioned that passed away, one of the reasons that a GoFundMe could exist is because perhaps the brother did have life insurance, but it was either a term or a universal life policy that may have had an accidental death rider. But because it wasn't an accidental death policy, and I'll explain what that means in just a minute, the insurance company gets to decide if the cause of death is worthy of insuring. So let me kind of break that down a little bit. Accidental death coverage is a policy that pays out if you die by accident. Dying by accident before COVID-19 was the number 3 cause of death in the United States, behind cancer and heart issues, meaning that there's a high probability that unless you catch COVID, you're going to die by an accident, meaning a car accident, a stray bullet, getting shot, falling off a roof, falling and slipping in the bathtub, hitting your head, house catches on fire. All of those things are accidents. And so what happens is, a lot of times when people die, they don't have accidental death coverage. So their death, if it's not health related, then it gets filed under an accident. But if you don't have the coverage to cover an accident, then you're out of insurance. And so, you have to think that way. The other way you have to think is, the longer you wait to get insurance, the higher it's going to get. I had the unfortunate opportunity to offer insurance to a client of mine. He was an 85-year-old man with stage 4 cancer, who had gotten denied for insurance about 5 or 6 times, and it was costly. I'm not gonna lie to you. He was 80 something years old, and his insurance was about $500-600 a month for $35,000 worth of insurance. Here's the problem, though. That would have paid off the rest of his house. He only owed $10,000 on his house. He didn't have a car payment, so that extra little bit of money would have taken care of his daughter. His daughter wanted him to get the policy. he didn't get the policy, and he said it was too high, and rightfully so. I understood, but unfortunately, that brother passed away about 4 days after our conversation. And his daughter called me and was like, "I really wish my dad would have gotten the policy." So these are things that happen because sometimes, we don't get it when we're 30. We don't get it when we're 40, even 50. We don't think that, I don't need another bill. You can't look at life insurance as a bill. You have to look at it as an investment. If you look at it as an investment, you're investing into future generations of your legacy. If you look at it as a bill, then that means your family is a nuisance.
All praises, family. If y'all could get the like button up, I see y'all on the comment boards. Y'all saying, wow. Y'all say this is a very important conversation, which it is, because nobody else really is talking about this stuff. And it's funny because the Spirit moved me to talk about this thing earlier in the week. I had no idea an Israelite leader had passed away. And I also had no idea that the brother Marshall was going to tell me to bring the brother AbadYahu on the call. So this is a very, 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 very important conversation. I know it's somber. Sometimes y'all want me to be on here cursing people out and talking about whatever I'm talking about, but no, we got to talk about this stuff too, because Israelites are dying every day. We're seeing GoFundMe's every day, and unfortunately, some of our Israelite family are not being taken care of because they don't really have anybody outside this truth that loves them, and so they're winding up being buried under precarious situations. So AbadYahu, real quick, man, what would you suggest? I know you ran down the list of states where you are actually operating in. What would you suggest to somebody that's on a limited income? Let's just say hypothetically, we're talking about Priest Danyaahla, and I was in one of those states that you cover, and I'm on minimum wage, whatever minimum wage is in that state. Where do I start? Because obviously I know you said that there are different policies, and obviously the other policies you say that cover more cost more. Where do I start?
Well, you want to start, really, you want to start, and I'll give you this tidbit. Number one, find a broker, not an agent. And what I mean by a broker, and I'll explain the difference. An insurance agent is, in our industry, is called a captive agent. And what that means is they work for one company and they work for that company. Their job is to make money for that company. A broker, however, like myself, I'm a broker. Right now I'm contracted with, last my count was about 62 insurance companies throughout the United States. A broker has the leverage of shopping rates and coverage. So meaning however many companies or policy or products rather you qualify for, I have the ability to move around the numbers in a way that's going to help my client, as opposed to solely worrying about how much profit is this one company is going to get. And I'm not on that company's payroll. I get paid whenever a policy is issued. So it's a little bit different. The suggestion that I would make is in saying find a broker, is asking that broker what, number one, know what type of coverage you want. Do you want to pay off your house, or is your house already paid off? Now, a good broker is going to ask you all of these questions. Going to ask you, how much debt are you in? Do you own any cars? Do you have children? What would happen today to your children if they were to pass away? If you were to pass away? If you are married, if who makes the most money? If that person was to pass away, what would it look like? Because all of those things are going to help inform that agent, or that broker rather, on how they can best help you, and potentially what are some avenues that they can go through. The very first type of coverage I would automatically recommend is accidental death insurance. Number one, accidental death. In some states, not all, but in some states, has what you call a return of premium rider, which means that, let's say if it's a 10-year policy, all of your premiums at the end of that 10 years can get paid back to you. So it's pretty much an investment of coverage for the next 10 years, or a lease of coverage for the next 10 years. But the difference is you get that money back. You want to get accidental death coverage with some companies or carriers like Mutual of Omaha. I think if you're under 50, they will cover you for about 500,000. The average, if you're in your 30s or 40s, the average coverage for that is anywhere from about $15 to $25. Just depends on height, weight, those type of things, because you have to chart out in a height and weight range. The second thing I would do is, and this is all barring that I have very little funds. The second thing I would do is look at two different types of policies. One is going to be a term life policy, which is unlike the accidental death policy, which is a term life policy. A regular term life policy covers you for things that aren't accidents. So let's say in the next 10 years you get cancer, or you get sick, or you just pass away from natural causes. That policy is going to cover you in those regards. Now that policy is a little bit higher because accidental death coverage, while it pays out a little bit more because more people die by accident, it's used less because a lot of people don't get accidental death coverage. So it's a little bit cheaper. But I would look at getting term coverage if I'm young. If I'm a young person, I'm going to look at term coverage. If I am in my 40s or 50s and I'm already starting to have aches, I'm already starting to have problems, or I may have had a surgery when I was younger, or whatever the case may be, I'm going to go ahead and get a whole life policy. The reason I'm going to get a whole life policy is because a whole life policy is going to qualify me for certain things down the line, such as living benefits. And living benefits, you have to be careful with that, though, because some policies, when you borrow money from them, it becomes a loan. But if you have living benefits, then that's not a loan. It's your money that you're taking away from your death benefit. So let me recap that. I would get accidental death coverage first. I would find out what a regular term life policy would look like. And then secondly, I would look into a whole life policy.
AbadYahu, you said something that was very powerful that kind of brought a whole nother question I wasn't even thinking about. Thank you. What about people that have pre-existing health conditions?
Okay.
That are looking for.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's very important. Go ahead, brother.
Pre-existing health conditions. Now, in the world of life insurance, it's not hard. And again, this goes into making sure you have the right person working with you on insurance. There are some companies, because here's one of the reasons why a lot of people get denied. A lot of people get denied because their agent tries to take them through the wrong company on the wrong product. So some companies have multiple products, and if you go through the wrong product, you'll get denied. If you go through the right product, you'll get approved. The problem is that some companies will deny you because you were denied by another company. So sometimes the only company you can go through is through the company you first applied with, but it has to be the right decision. So long story short, if you have a pre-existing condition, for example, COVID-19 is a pre-existing condition, and it is extremely hard to get people covered who have had COVID-19. But if you have a pre-existing condition like cancer or heart issues or diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those things are considered pre-existing conditions. You want to make sure that the easiest way to avoid being denied coverage is make sure you get you a good agent or broker. Make sure they know what they're doing, because that person's going to know. For example, I was doing a risk assessment for a client earlier this morning, and the husband had skin cancer, but he had it 4 or 5 years ago. There are some carriers that only look back 5 years, or only look back 3 years, or only look back 2 years. Those are the carriers I'm going to go to, as opposed to carriers that are automatically going to deny you if you have cancer. So you want to make sure you do that. The other way to avoid that is making sure that your agent or your broker is looking at what we call guaranteed issue policies. And let me explain. There are 3 types of issues that can, or when I say issues, meaning how a policy is issued or created for you. Number 1 is what we call a guaranteed issue. No questions, no medical exam. It's an audit. If your Social Security, your date of birth, and your name match, you have that policy. There is the simplified issue. A simplified issue is a few questions that's done during the application process by which you don't have to use a doctor. Then there's what we call fully underwritten issue. A fully underwritten issue means a doctor has to come out to your house. They have to stick you with a needle. They have to do all of those, they have to do a full medical exam to determine whether or not you can qualify. And you can be disqualified for being in a wheelchair or being on oxygen, all of those things. Now, me personally, I try to avoid having my clients go through that because I already know 90% of the times that's, unless I've done my job excellently, that's a loser. And so I don't want to put my clients through that if I know that I'm going to lose. So, but again, if you have pre-existing conditions, you want to make sure that you work with a knowledgeable agent. But more importantly, and I'm going to say this, especially when it comes to Israel, tell the truth to the people you talk to. Some of y'all know you take depression medicine. You have heart pills. Don't say, oh, I just take a little bit of high blood pressure. You have to tell your agent or your broker every single medicine you're on, because some insurance companies will deny you just because of a medicine. That is very, very important. I can't tell you how many times I've been lied to or I haven't been told the whole truth. And that's a whole lot more work that I've had to do. Not that I don't mind working, but here's the thing. The more work your agent or broker has to do, the higher your rate is going to go up. So you want to keep that in mind.
Now, AbadYahu, you're not in the Northeastern area. I didn't hear you say nothing about Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island. You know what I'm saying? None of that
I'm
stuff.
working on it, man. I'm working on it.
I know. I know. So you said you made a statement. So I gotta put you on the spot now. You said,
okay.
You said work with a knowledgeable agent. I'm a novice. I don't know what that means, a knowledgeable agent. So what you have to tell the people is, how do they recognize a knowledgeable agent? What are the questions that they should ask an agent to know that they are a knowledgeable agent?
Good question. So there's two ways of finding out whether or not you have a knowledgeable agent. Number one, a knowledgeable agent is going to ask all the right questions. If you have cancer, how long ago was it? Whatever your health issue is, how long ago is that health issue? Are you a smoker? Do you plan on stop smoking? All of these are questions. While it may seem offensive, if you are a smoker, hey, do you plan on stop smoking? That has a lot to do with it. Number two, so you want to make sure that your agent asks the right questions. The second way you're going to know if you have a knowledgeable agent or broker is a knowledgeable agent is not going to come back to you with 5 or 6 different companies or options. They may have 5 or 6 different that they can go, but they're going to choose the absolute best option that they can come to you with, and they're going to be forthright. What I mean by forthright is they're either going to come to your house, lay out all of the policy details for you, allow you all of the time you need to make a decision, or if in my world we do what is called telesales or virtual presentation. So all of my clients meet with me on Zoom. I show them my screen. I show them everything that I'm looking at. They look at. The second thing to that is your agent has to know why you will get denied. If your agent takes longer than 2 minutes to explain to you, what are the chances I'm going to get denied and for what? Under this particular policy, either one or two things. They're not a good agent or they didn't do their research, which if they didn't do their research, that's a scary thing. So you want to make sure that your agent is well prepared. The last way of knowing if you have a good agent is a good agent will always tell you, just because we do an application does not mean you're going to get approved. An application is like going to buy a car. Just because you sit down and fill out a credit app doesn't mean you're buying it. You're not buying it until you sign the contract. Actually, you're not buying it until 3 days after you actually leave the car with the car lot, because the application has to be reviewed by the bank. I just know that because I used to sell cars. But anyways, so long story short, you want to make sure that you're not forced into getting insurance. You want to make sure that your agent has given you all the information that you need, pros and cons, Should I get term life versus whole life? How can I cover my entire family? What policies are available for my entire family, my wife? And that's another thing. If you're dealing with an agent and he's only focused on you and not your wife or your husband, that's a red flag, because that means that agent doesn't necessarily care about insuring your whole home or making sure your whole home is covered. He only cares about you, which the problem with that is sometimes your spouse may be the carrier on the policy. And what I mean by that is there are some policies that will cover a whole family as opposed to covering one individual. So you want to make sure that you have a very patient agent, a person that's willing to answer all of your questions, no matter how foolish they may seem, but also one that is truly transparent. That is essential.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a quick example. I'm gonna keep it too long about Yahoo. I'm gonna give you a quick example. Let's just say that. Let's just use the most extreme example. Let's say come to you about Yahoo in your state, and I'm looking for life insurance. I have a wife and 2 children, but right now I'm on minimum wage.
Okay.
So I want you to tell me, because I heard you speak about term life and whole life, and I see commercials about both. And brother, I don't know the difference. What the hell is the difference between term life and whole life? I don't know. And I bet you most of the people that's watching don't know either. So you can hit that real quick, and then I want you to hit on where would you have me start, and then I could progress from there. But if somebody that say I have a wife and 2 children, I'm on minimum wage, where would I start? Before you go to that, just because you mentioned term life and whole life, and I was lost. I ain't ashamed to tell you I was lost.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Trust me, I was too when I first started. Term life is a policy that is for a certain term. So the easiest way to look at it is term policies are like congressmen. They only cover you for a certain term, 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30. If any insurance agent tells you that your term life policy is longer than 30 years, they are lying. They are a liar, and the truth is not in them. That is a lie. Term life policies only go to 30 years. So a term life policy is a policy that's pretty much designed to cover you for a certain term period. The downfall to term life policies is term life policies don't cover you for the entirety of your life. So that's where whole life or universal whole life policies come in. A whole life policy is a policy that's going to cover you for your whole life. Now, I have to be clear. Whole life doesn't mean however long you live. Whole life means the average cutoff age. Huh?
And I said, damn. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
So a whole life policy doesn't cover you for your whole life. So if you lived 110, you may not be covered to 110. It all is all in the fine writing. There are some whole life policies that will cover you until you're 85. There are some that will cover you until you're 95. There are some that are going to drastically reduce the death benefit once you get to 90 or 80 or 95. And then with a whole life policy, there are some policies that are actually going to, your premiums will end, but the coverage will continue. So you may get to 80 years old and your premium, you'll stop paying for the policy, but the policy will still be in effect. So when it gets to whole life and term life, you have to be very careful when you look into those things, because some people, for example, with a term life policy, you can outlive the policy, meaning the policy will end, but you'll live longer than it. A permanent or whole life policy will pretty much cover you. And some, don't get me wrong, some policies will cover you for pretty much your whole life. I think the average expectancy for life in the United States is around 70 to 75. And so that's where you get numbers like 90 to 95. So the reality of you needing a policy when you're 95 years old is, in the eyes of insurance companies, non-needed, because at that point your family can actually get insurance policies on you if they want to. So that's one of the maneuvers that families do, is once that person's policy ends, another person will get another policy on that family member to ensure that they don't lose their insurance.
Man, I'm looking at the chat and people are blown away about Yahoo, like including myself, just listening to you talk. I'm not ashamed to tell you at least 70% of what you've been saying today I didn't know. And had I even brought life insurance, these are questions I wouldn't have asked. So I myself am going to go back and watch this video again before I ever even go. Because I personally myself right now am in the market for a new life insurance policy as well. Because what I had, whatever. So I'm in the market for that right now. And just even what you said has like raised red flags, green flags, purple, green, purple, rainbow, turquoise, every other color. Like, goddamn, you just dropping all the knowledge. Seriously, this is serious. This is why I said this show was one of the most important shows I've ever done, because had I went without any of this knowledge, I wouldn't have known what to ask. I wouldn't have known the difference between term life, whole life, this, that, and the third. Like, you just really have dropped a lot of information. And I'm seeing in the chat that people are saying the same thing. So this is really, really invaluable information that the people really need, especially us as Israelites, because there's nobody that are having these conversations that you're having. I'm so glad that Marshall told me to talk to you, because a lot of our people may have went out and bought policies and never asked none of these really, really important questions. What did I miss about Yahoo? What are some other important things that you have run across in your travels in the insurance industry, as far as life insurance, that I did not ask you that you think is very important for our people to know? Please, this is the time to bring it out.
Okay, so I want to talk about opportunity with life insurance, and this is where I kind of nerd out a little bit, because there's so much that that's available out there. Number one, they're gonna go back to accidental death coverage. Accidental death is like free insurance money at a very cheap amount that's available for you. That is actually the most practical kind. Now, I want to be clear when I say this. Don't just get accidental death and think you don't need any other coverage. That kind of puts you at a disadvantage. But that's like free money out there. Most accidental death policies are guaranteed issue, so you don't have to worry about being denied. But it's, I think for mine, I pay I think like $18. My wife is like $16. My mom and my stepdad, theirs is like $16 and $12, and they're in their 50s. So, and they have, I think, about $200,000 worth of coverage on themselves. One of the things, if you have family, to go back to that, if you have family, if you have children, just to give you an example, there's an insurance company called Foresters, which, and let me say something, by the way, most insurance companies won't sell you insurance directly. The reason they won't is because, number one, you have an entire market of agents. It's like buying a house from a contractor directly. It's you have to go through agents, which to some people it can be frustrating. And there are some who will sell you insurance directly, but oftentimes the rates are higher, and you don't have that one-on-one touch that you need to be able to answer certain questions for you. But to go back, Foresters has what we call a policy, and Bright Future. I was trying to think. It's called Bright Future. Bright Future is a policy that you can take out on a child. For example, I have one on both of my children. I think they're like $25 a piece. But there are policies that you can take out on your child for $75,000 that will cover them for the rest of their life until they are 100 years old. And the benefit to that is that coverage starts when you take it out. So, for example, I have one on my 1-year-old son.
Sorry to cut you off about Yahoo. You said you took it out on them. It'll cover them for the rest of their life. So if you pass away, do they have to pick up the payments for you? Or just, if you could just, sorry, but I have a question about that. Yeah.
You can, so there are two ways. You can continue to pay the policy. If you pass away, then your spouse can assume the responsibility of that policy. One of the things I always advise parents to do is do what we call a pay to 100, meaning that you can pay out the full amount, because you're only actually paying up until they're 18. So you can pay out the full amount of coverage till they're 18. And one of the ways you do that is you stipulate that, for example, if you were to pass away, that coverage rolls to your wife, or the responsibility of that coverage rolls to your spouse. So, for example, if something was to happen to me, then my spouse has the responsibility of paying for my children's coverage until they're 18, when the coverage therefore becomes fully done. The other caveat to that is that you have the option of paying per month, or you can pay annually. Some people pay annually on their policies, or you can do what like I said, pay to 100, which pretty much means you pay a lump sum to cover them without having to worry about premiums. Go ahead.
No, it's good. I got a really good question. I didn't even think to ask it, but somebody just asked it to me as well. My wife actually. We could do this because I'm pretty sure you have a couple of things to say about this. Rates according to race, because we know that on the applications they ask you what your race is. So,
right.
Have you experienced where it is that our people wound up paying higher rates because we put on our applications that we are our people?
I will say this, and this is to be as transparent as I can be. While I would like to believe no, I'm not naive enough to think that there's not some form of racial inequity as it pertains to quoting. I'll be honest, the highest disparity that you're going to see as it pertains to quotes is your health in and of itself. Because, for example, you can have a white person who is completely healthy, and a black person who's not healthy. And sometimes the rates are different because rates are really based on three things: how old you are, what your height is, and what your weight is. And then after those three things, then it goes into what's in your medical information bureau, meaning whenever you apply for insurance, that insurance company is going to pull from the MIB, which is the Medical Information Bureau, and they're going to look at every doctor's visit you ever had, every medicine you ever took. Those are the things that are going to weigh more, in my experience, than your race per se. What I mean is I don't see a noticeable difference enough for me to say that the numbers are skewed negatively toward our people. However, I will say that the information that is offered to our people is negatively skewed. And what I mean by that is the marketing to black people, or to Israelites rather, as far as when you look at these commercials on TV, as far as insurance is concerned, the marketing is geared towards other ethnicities. But my biggest issue that I've found is that a lot of our people aren't given the information as it pertains to what type of policies they can get. You go in, most times they're looking to either give you final expense, and part of it has to do with our mentality as a people. We love low prices, but we also have to understand you pay for what you get. So if you want an insurance policy for $10, you're going to get an insurance policy that comes with a little bit of lack of information.
Real talk. No, I wasn't cutting you up, brother. I was just laughing.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I've had. I can't tell you how many people, I want insurance policy for $50. And I'm like, yo, you smoke, you 80, and you got cancer. You ain't getting no policy for $10. Let's be realistic. And that's how you know you have a good agent, a person that's going to tell you the truth. Like, yo, number one, these numbers aren't going to work. Not for what you want to accomplish. So let's talk about reality versus what you want to accomplish, and let's try to get that done. But there's just a few other types of insurance. There's is it Foresters? I think it's Foresters. They have another type of policy called priority income protection, which pretty much means if you go on disability, short-term or long-term, you can set aside for about a $4,000 a month stipend to pay you as long as you're on disability. that money is not necessarily something you owe back. It's a life insurance policy that's paying you from the benefit every single month. So that's an option that a lot of our people don't know about. And that's called priority income protection. You can get, man, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, you can get coverage, like I said, on your children. You can get coverage, disability riders into a policy. So a policy that's not necessarily geared towards disability. But for example, let's say you have a life insurance policy, you get a disability rider. That disability rider can be up to $500. I mean, if you go on disability, they'll pay you $500 a month until you get off of disability or you go on full-term disability. You have some policies, and in this industry, you'll hear a lot about mortgage protection. Mortgage protection is not, and a lot of people get these calls and they're like, I don't want to refinance. Mortgage protection is not refinancing. Mortgage protection is actually you covering the mortgage with a life insurance policy. So you may have, and I always explain it like this. You can have a policy to cover your funeral. You can have a policy for your bills. You can have a policy for your mortgage. There is no law on the books as of right now in any state or federally that limits the number of life insurance policies that you can get. You also have policies that are locked into the stock market, like IULs and annuities, where you can pretty much have a private 401k outside of a job, but you can have like a private 401k that you put money into it. It's going to grow over time, or you put money into this policy. The policy is then going to invest money into the stock market for you and react with rising and falling based on the stock market. And those are some of the things that people do as well. One other thing that I want to say is that there are a few things. So we talked about living benefits. So some policies have what we call an accelerated death benefit, which if you're terminally ill, you can forego your death benefit in exchange for a payment that's equal to the face value, meaning that you don't get the money when you die. You'll get the money up front, but it'll be a little bit less than. So let's say if you have a $200,000 policy, if you do an accelerated death benefit, they're going to minus the years of coverage. So let's say if you're 5 years out from a 10-year policy, you may get, instead of 200,000, 90,000, but you'll get that 90,000 all at once. You have a portability, which portability is pretty much you can take the coverage with you when you retire, and it'll go into a smaller amount for you, and it'll be direct billed. A waiver of premium. This is important. A waiver of premium rider means that if something happens to you, if you become terminally ill, you can add on a waiver of premium rider when you do your application, which means that if let's say I get cancer or I become permanently disabled, then my premiums are waived for the rest of my life. Meaning I don't have to pay for this insurance coverage. But that's a rider that you have to qualify for. And then you can do what is called a cash accumulation, which means that over time you can your policy will accumulate a certain amount of cash that at the end of that term you can get that cash out of that policy.
Now, AbadYahu, I'm gonna say something to you. I think you understand exactly what I'm saying. Within the last 10 minutes of you speaking, I think is probably the reason why the majority of our people don't have life insurance. You know why? Because it's so much, and it's kind of complicated, and you have to know what it is you're asking for, what you're looking for, and they don't trust. Not only, let's forget about the other nations. They don't even trust our own people, who a lot of them are snake oil salesmen. So I have to say to you, brother, you need to repent and believe the gospel, because you're not in all 50 states. So you are orphans now. You need to repent, you know what I'm saying, and get yourself right with the Most High and get in all 50 states so we could come to you. You know what I'm saying? Because, listen, bro, I wouldn't have known to ask half of what you're saying. And this is extremely important stuff, because I might have the wrong thing, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
One last thing, if I may. The easiest way, and Priest Danyaahla is right when he says the insurance industry is so complicated that a lot of times, and not just even insurance, and let's just kind of segue a little bit here. Even when we talk about the truth, for a lot of us, when we first came in contact with the truth, it was so overwhelming we rejected it. That reaction to information is natural. It's a natural reaction to become so overwhelmed that mentally we lock down and we become unable to mobilize and become people of action. Now, what I want to say is that the devil's in the details. Anytime you're sitting down with an insurance agent, all of the information I just said is publicly known. I have it kind of easily itemized out on my website. So it's kind of a little bit easier to read and easier to find what type of insurance you want to go for. But the most important thing that I would say to our people is don't allow the wealth of information to cause you to become immobile as it pertains to protecting yourself. One of the biggest things that happens with our people is we slow foot important decisions and we move so impulsively on non-important decisions. And that's across the board, even in the truth. There's some people say, "Oh, I'll start keeping the commandments whenever," but they never do. But they've bought 5 cars since then. 5 cars at an average of $20,000 is $100,000 you just dedicated yourself to spending, but you don't want to spend the same amount of money on covering yourself. So I want to make sure I say that. But again, the most important thing is research. And now I will say this to all of the brothers and sisters that are listening, even if I'm not in your state, Lord willing, I pray to be very soon. But even if I'm not in your state, we have, I know my agency alone, we have brothers in Jersey who are training. I have agents out in Texas, Georgia, Alabama, here in Tennessee, in Kentucky. But if you're not in those states, I pretty much know or have agents that I trust that are going to tell us the right thing. But the biggest thing is research. But what I was going to say was I'm an open book. Any of you brothers can message me, email me, and I'll be more than willing to answer whatever questions that I can in those regards. I want to say,
AbadYahu, give me some real quick. Give me some information as to how they can research contact you. Give me some information. Website, like what phone number, how can they contact you?
Okay, so you can contact me. Website is www.adviseco.org. That's AdviseCo.org. You can call me 615-556-4197. And you can email me at Brian, BRIAN, at adviseco.org or info@adviseco.org. So I'll repeat that real quick. So the website is www.adviseco.org. That's ADVISE.co.org. Telephone number 615-556-4197, as well as email Brian or info@adviseco.org. Also, Facebook. If you look up Advise Insurance Group on Facebook, you can.
Family, real quick, sorry to cut you off, King. You guys can see I just changed the ticker at the bottom. So all his information is right there. You guys can see it. I'm gonna give you guys some time. And if you don't see it now, you can come back to this video at this point. This is how you reach the brother. Go ahead, AbadYahu.
One other caveat that I want to express to our people is the leverage of using life insurance to launch your own business. This is something that a lot of our living adversaries, as I like to call them, a lot of the other nations use to their advantage, which is you will have a life insurance policy. Let's say if it's $100,000, and you draw from that life insurance policy anywhere from, you can draw up to 80%. So if you have $100,000, you can draw $80,000, and they use that to fund their business. Now, some of them do it as a loan, where you draw that $80,000 and you agree to pay that $80,000 back over 5 or 6 years. But you can use that money, or some 10 years, but you can use that money to buy a building, to buy inventory, to get certifications or different things that you need to go to school or whatever the case may be. You can use that money. Now, drawing from it doesn't have to be a loan. There are some policies and some companies where you can get that money interest-free or loan-free, but you have to make sure that if any agent tells you, hey, you can do this, make sure you get the writing on what that looks like. And here's the other thing: call the insurance company. No, sometimes we don't like calling them. Sometimes we have to call them to make sure that our agent is not lying to us. And but you have the ability. I want to repeat: you can use that money to catapult. Matter of fact, I have a business partner out in Phoenix that he had a small life insurance policy of $40,000. He took $25,000 of that $40,000 policy, bought a building, or used that money to lease a building, hire staff, and that's how he started his agency. And he now writes, I think they're writing about $1 million a month in policy, which is probably going to net him anywhere about 80% of that. So you definitely have that caveat, and that's something that a lot of our people don't know. So it's important that we understand that.
All right, AbadYahu, we're about to get out of here. I ain't gonna hold you too long, but I need to know, what did I miss? What's very important that you want, that's on your heart, that our people need to know about any of the subjects we spoke today that we missed?
The one thing that I would say to all of our brothers and sisters is, don't assume because you're 40, 50, 60, or whatever, insurance is going to be high. Information, or the lack thereof, are the two, never mind what I was going to say. The Bible says in the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. But it also goes on to say, because we denied that knowledge. Don't just believe that because you think your rates are going to be high, they're going to be high. Now, let me be clear. You might be right, but it's better to be safe than sorry. And so it's important to at least get quotes, at least get the information, so you can have that knowledge. I think, there should not be, particularly amongst the nation of Israel, GoFundMes, for two reasons. Number one, this kind of goes into caring about your leadership. But number one, if you care about your leaders, and this is kind of a leaders and followers type of thing here, but just follow me, you guys. If you care about your leadership, you're going to make sure that your leaders have insurance. Even if you got to take it out on them yourself, you want to make sure that your leaders have insurance. Number two, leaders, you want to make sure that your parishioners, your congregants, your brothers and sisters in your camps and your congregations, that they have insurances, that their children have insurance policies. It is important. There is I believe that it is a biblical flagrance to not leave an inheritance when we had the opportunity to do so. And my wife was talking to me, my rib was talking to me earlier today about why the insurance companies keep charging our account. Because I think in our home, we have about 6 or 7 policies. I have 2 that I pay for. And I have 3 more that I think my mom still pays because she doesn't want me to pay them. I have 2 on my children. My wife has 2. But it's important to have these policies because you don't know. The one thing about death is we're not here to tell the story of the survivor. We're not here to tell the story of those that are left behind. We're only here to remember the memories and void of the pain. So, I really want to stress, and what's really on my heart as it pertains to insurance is, let us not wait until we need insurance to get insurance. Let's get insurance before we need it, because the reality is it's cheaper before you need it. And if you can buy cable, and if you can buy the new iPhone, and if you can buy a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox and a TV and all of these things, you can spend money on insurance, because that's an investment. And, I could go on and on, but brothers and sisters, trust me, it is. I'm not just saying that because I'm in insurance. I'm saying it because having dealt with the responsibilities of taking care of somebody as they are leaving this earth, knowing what I didn't have. My grandmother had dementia and couldn't get a hospital bed because she didn't have the right kind of insurance. That hurt me, because, I'm like, yo, she's lived so long, she's older. It's not fair how things are set up, but not fair and not an excuse are not the same things. So let's just be mindful that there are options. There is information out there. You brothers and sisters, you have my contact information. Feel free to reach out. I'm more than willing to answer any questions. And I count it an honor to have been able to share with you all. And Priest Danyaahla, thank you so much for even your willingness to talk about it, because, when we talk about business, and this is not a knock on anybody, but let me just say this. We can do better than selling candles and clothes. As Israelites, we can do a lot better. And what I mean by that is there are brothers and sisters out here that are doing really good work, not even me included, but there are brothers and sisters that are out here that are doing really good work to uplift this nation in the realm of business. And as a nation, we have to support our brothers and sisters. If we do not, we're leaving our generations and future generations in the hand of predators that mean us no good.
Well, family, you heard it from a very knowledgeable brother. So, AbadYahu, thank you so much. Before you go, can you see the chat?
I am on. Hold on, I had the little screen pulled up, but I was on
chat. Family, let's let our brother know we want to have AbadYahu back. So, if you want to see the brother come back, you got to show him some love. I need y'all in the chat to put 1 in the chat if you want to see our brother come back. If you were edified and you want to see him come back on Maccabeestv, family, please put 1 in the chat and let the brother know that you appreciate the information that he dropped and you need for him to come back and drop some more. Let's show him some love in the chat, family. I'm seeing the ones already. Let's go.
The Water family. I saw one question. I wanted to answer that real quick. Somebody asked, how long do you have to have the policy to withdraw that money? It depends on the policy. Some policies are 3 years. Some policies are 5. The average is about 5 years, 3 to 5 years, though.
All praises, all praises. All right, man. Yo, AbadYahu, thank you so much. Listen, me and my household personally, I got your number locked in already. I'm going to be calling you this week, Lord willing. Thank you for anything. Did I leave anything out that you want to talk about now? You want to save it for next time? You let me know.
I'll save it for next time because I can't think of anything right now.
Praise to the Most High, brother. All right, well, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you coming on and taking time out your busy schedule. And we'll see you again soon. Most High bless you and your family, bro.
Likewise, brother. Most High in Christ bless you as well. Thank you all.
Bless shalom. All right, family. So there it is. That was probably one of the most important shows that I've done in a very long time. You know what I'm saying? Now, listen, I ask you, brothers and sisters, to measure this channel, Maccabeestv, on the content I bring you compared to other people that ain't talking about SHIT. And you let me know. I'm trying to bring you, brothers and sisters, the most important, most potent, most powerful information that nobody else is talking about, because everybody's talking about the same thing. A lot of the camps and camp leaders are just trying to outdo each other and looking to, you know what I'm saying, have the preeminence over everybody else, whereas on here you get real information. There's a lot of information that was dropped. Make sure y'all come back and like the video, share the video, and watch it if you missed something. And the brother's information is scrolling across the screen right now in case you want to reach out to him. He's available. I see you, my man. Edward Shivers in the building. Lions of Israel in the building. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for watching. I appreciate it. I'm right back at y'all with more great information. Sunday, I got a guest on Sunday, Most High willing. I got the cryptocurrency roundtable, part 2. on Monday because the first cryptocurrency roundtable got taken down. Shout out to Joel Benjamin for playing a copyrighted video. Got my video taken down. So I'm going to do part 2 on Monday, Most High will. All praise to the Most High God, Yahweh. In the name of his only begotten son, Yahweh Shai. I really appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? We going in, Lines of Israel, Maccabeestv. Hey, family, real quick, you know what I'm saying? If you want to support the ministry that we do, if what I does help you, I'm going to switch it right back to my camp information. You brothers and sisters already know. My camp website is scrolling across the screen. If you are interested in the academy that's coming up January 3rd, the information is scrolling across the screen. Time is running out. Make sure those of you that are interested, please send an email to that email going across the screen. If you want to donate, if what we do is helpful, there's the Cash App, there's the website. You can click on the button that says donate. But either way, what I do is a labor of love, so I'm gonna do it regardless. I love y'all. I'm gonna be right back at you. It's your brother Priest Danyaahla, Lines of Israel, Maccabeestv, and yeah, I'm out.
Spacious air, reflecting the way of life under the Florida sky. Even the lobbies funnel in the great outdoors.
Chosen. I was set apart for God's use. Chosen. I was set apart for God's use. Formed in his image. Chosen. They say the chain of Shaitan is not that strong. They say his time is running out, he ain't got that long. They say murder, murder, kill, this is not that song. Said I won't amount to nothing, they got that wrong. Cause I was set apart and I was shown the light. And if I get the kingdom, I'll be clothed in white. 1/3 will be delivered and the rest were blinded. Their fate is set in stone, what you ain't read the fine print? Christ is gonna give a crown to us. In the end we'll have the nations bowing down to us, with their faces to the ground to us. It's the truth, as crazy as it sounds to us. Jacob forever rules, and we're his precious jewels. Showed us love and patience, put us above the nations. And that's the gospel, thank God for choosing me. Bad news for you, is really good news for me. I was set apart for God's use. Chosen. I was set apart for God's use. Formed in his image. Let me tell you why. We have a different kind of shine, a different kind of mind. The rhythm's not the same, we're on a different type of time. With a different kind of pace, a different kind of race. The season's not the same, we have a different kind of taste. A different kind of salt, we are so not them. Got my sword and my shield, man, I'm so locked in. And when I came to serve Yahweh, I put my whole heart in. So I can't sit calm, I'm no Martin. And that's a reach, y'all, chosen to teach y'all. Every Sabbath you can find us in the streets, y'all. Danyaahla, my nickname is Priest, y'all. In the gym, they say that I'm a beast, y'all. Set apart, the nations all hate me. Set a trap, they lying in wait for me. Chris Paul, they don't wanna play with me. But if you love me, I'm asking that you pray with me. Cause I was set apart for God's use. Chosen. I was set apart for God's use. Formed in his image. Chosen. And thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God have chosen thee to be a special people, chosen above all people that's on the face of the earth. That's Deuteronomy 7 and 6. That's you, black and Latin man. Chosen. That's you, black and Latin woman. Yeah. But we the chosen. Chosen.